Where I live, there are rainbows, shining, glistening from the light that shines through the storm, making the dull, the gray, uncertainty in the rumble of the thunder. The adverse, seemingly endless torrents metamorphosize into robust, radiant colors, lighting and signaling an end to the storm with the hope for a future state that lies beyond. Rainbows reveal themselves in the shape of pi'o. The pi'o of the rainbows, the bowing, reaching, the inclusion, the bending and refracting of light through water to illuminate truth, to make visible what is often unseen, the revelation for our eyes to witness color and hope where there once was gloom and the gray of the storm. Let's be clear, it's been stormy in our islands for a while. We've seen our fair share of crises over the last 5 years, between the false missile threat, when we thought our islands would be destroyed and we had 15 minutes to live. We understand we are a target because of the US military presence, to the COVID pandemic, to the Navy's negligence and the Red Hill water crisis, where our aquifer was poisoned and now contains forever chemicals. Terrible burning of Lahaina, to the rise of fascism in our streets and bribery in the legislature. All the while, power clings to archaic, inequitable, and extractive economic models for our islands. Any of these singular crises would be enough to define a generation, and yet we've experienced them all. And in some ways, in these last 5 years, we've become almost conditioned to crises. The hope of changing Hawaii from a perpetual state of crisis and the possibilities of what lie beyond the storm are all relevant metaphors for the intentions of the pi'o summits. What can we see and do together? How can we effectively utilize the resources of the university to support real-world change for our islands, to malama our place and our people, to create systems that bend and bow, to share abundance, and to be like the shining through water to illuminate the truth? pi'o summits are created to highlight the need for courageous leadership and ancestral innovation to solve the complex problems of our times. Looking toward the light in the storm, today we gather for the second annual pi'o Summit on advancing a circular economy in Hawaii. Mahalo nui for all of you for being here, for making the journey in spite of the many challenges we face. Mahalo to your kupuna who brought you here today, who give you the courage to uplift and do what you can do to make Hawaii better. And I want to say, whatever position we're in, place, stature, I believe that together we're powerful, and our contributions are essential for a better future for the islands. No leila, therefore in the midst of the storm, I ask we be open to seeing the pi'o together. May we kilo, observe, guide towards the light and focus together on a future economy for our islands that is just, regenerative with aina and people, and in the likeness and dignity of the kupuna of old. Last year's summit was hosting Dr. Cornel West. Today, we've organized and highlighted incredible community innovators and leaders, as well as renowned international thought leaders on circular economy, on donut economics, in an attempt to solve these multiple crises for our day. This pi'o summits are a part of a larger project. I won't get into this, but you can come check out Po'aike Aloha Aina and our team. And I'm really gonna frame towards an ancestral circular economy today. And I wanna mahalo Brother Kili'i Kotubete, Paipaio He'ia, Waipa Foundation, Kua, the many partners that are part of this project together. And this is an image of Paipaio He'ia. So ancestrally, I think being raised and grown in islands, our kupuna were taught to see connections of things and systems. Okay, so this is a distinct marker, I think, of Hawaiian and perhaps Polynesian Pacific knowledge base, is rather than isolating things and seeing them, you know, as not connected and trying to get deeper, deeper, deeper into this one thing, we're trying to see the connectivity, right? And we get that in the beginning from Kumulipo, thinking about po and ao, There's all of these dualisms, kane and wahine. And I think that worldview, when we came upon these islands, really helped us to build this regenerative ancestral system and economy. And imagine coming on that va'a and seeing these beautiful high islands, right? Witnessing the rain and the water systems, and deifying that which brought life. That's what our kupuna did to create this ancestral economy that was incredibly influenced by the wai. So ancestrally, we had circularity within Ahupua'a. Wai, or water, really was what informed and organized, in many ways, the circularity. The Ahupua'a provided these integrated and complementary natural and human systems. We could have modified the landscape in any way we wanted, right? But when we built Lo'i, what did we do? We only took so much water to leave the O'opu, have water for the hihivai, create abundance there, bring it through to bring it back, to be regenerative. And this system really emphasized the social, relational well-being over individualism. And if we scale that up from the Ahupua'a, one of our recent papers and some of my co-authors, Kavika Winter, Sandra, my team are all here. We developed this together in our research and our work. Scaling out from the Ahupua'a, our kupuna really created this Hawaiian ancestral circular economy. So before we were trying to solve for the climate crisis of today, there were earlier ancestral circular economies that existed in our world, and President Lasner kind of hinted to some of that. Organized around wai. Wai being this essential primary organizer through kalai'aina, which was this systemic redivision and redistribution of resources and wealth in some ways. Annual assessments through makahiki, to achieve vai-vai, right? So the economy, everybody say wai. We know that word, wai-wai, water, water. So the economy should flow like water. It should redistribute resources and nutrients that come from Mauka to Makai. It should be cyclical. These are all some of the metaphors that kind of come out of our ancestral wisdom. So we prioritized, developed sort of these key principles of the ancestral circular economy. The prioritization of relationship building between people and place, between people and resources, right? When it worked well, there was a balance of governance structures. And I'll give you an example. I sat on the Water Commission with Chair Case. I saw Commissioner Hannes and Commissioner Buck in here. And maybe you might disagree with me, but it's difficult to manage all of the resources of Hawaii from a boardroom on Oahu, right? We don't actually have the amount of staff that we need to survey every stream, to understand the changing conditions of our streams. Now, when we had more balance, you had a governance structure, but you had an empowered community that intimately knew when the O'opu are spawning, when the Aweoweo are spawning in what region, right? And they could inform that governance structure. And we're getting some of that with community-based fisheries and management. We're getting back to that. But that's the idea here of this balance of governance structures. Systematic and regular redistributions of wealth and power. Really this promotion of regenerative social ecological processes. And this idea of environmental kinship. I'm going to be super bold and audacious. I'm going to tell everyone, you are all a child of Mother Earth. Nobody was born anywhere else. You have a responsibility to malama this place. I don't believe in a future of our world on Elon Musk's spaceships. This is what we have, okay? So in the paper, we sort of define these time periods of when the ancestral economy changed over time. You know, early on, I think during that kingdom period, we talk about the ancestral circular economy engaging with the global market economy. After the overthrow, I think up until today, we're really struggling with the linear economy, and perhaps there's hope again for the ancestral circular economy to inform and operate within this global system and structure. So the value of indigenous economies in the modern context, Indigenous frameworks of the economy and development challenge dominant narratives of the extractive economy. Again, we emphasize relationships over individualism. Aloha Aina informed principles of circularity that promote environmental justice and social equity. And, eliminating the idea of waste as a natural result of resource and material flow. Never have waste. There's so much that we can build off of in our islands, and I want to highlight some of that today. So we have incredible Aloha Aina circular economy interventions. My colleague Mehana Vaughn, the Haena community, familiar with her work on mahele and sharing of fisheries and where that's distributed. Biocultural restoration happening all across our islands at Heia, at Waipaw Foundation, Kako'oiwi. Community-based subsistence fisheries, kind of getting towards that balance of governance structure that I had kind of talked about. And so we have a lot of opportunities here in the islands, and sometimes in the midst of that storm, when it's cloudy and gray, it's hard to see the pi'o, okay? And it's hard to see the innovation that's happening on the ground in our communities. And you're gonna hear from some of our international colleagues that we've worked with and brought in some of the things that they've seen, and they see the strengths that we have here in Hawaii around our commitment to Aina as kin, around innovation in place and culture. So we must recognize that much of the crisis in our islands is really a result of inequitable, extractive, linear economic models that have been in place for generations in Hawaii and across our world. We have a lot of challenges. It's not that we will solve them all today, but I think we have to reframe the operating system of our economy and see how it can work. In a recent site visit, our team was out with Matson and they were hosted. My brain kind of exploded because the estimates every day, about 1,000 cars come to Oahu, about 500 leave, 500 cars stay on this island. And just logically, that can't work forever, right? That can't work forever. And these are the kinds of things that we have to solve for. So we must change the operating system of our economy. And this is a similar problem that many people in the world are trying to solve. We're going to learn more about the circular economy, how it's happening in other places in the world. And the circular economy is one intervention really to solve for some of the root causes of climate crises. It's happening all around the world. It's got incredible opportunities, concepts like the urban mine. Right now, there's a big issue with deep sea mining of resources. So rather than continuing to extract trace elements and resources from our natural environment and systems and exploding Mother Earth, how do we utilize the urban mine, the things that have already been extracted out of our planet that are in an iPhone, a TV, whatever it may be, and re-extract those resources? These are all things that we can look into for the future of Hawaii. And so how do we build a circular economy in Hawaii? Instead of take, make, waste, how can we be a model perhaps more like give, take, regenerate? Kamu Opelu fisheries, what do? First thing, you feed the fish, right? And then you go and take, and then that's a reciprocal relationship. So looking at other models for our islands, and there's a lot of hope. The incredible work of Dr. Natalie Kurashima, who's going to be joining us in a couple minutes, highlights in her paper and modeling that, using only 6% of our lands, we produced enough that could feed about 86% of our population just with ancestral systems. Today, agriculture uses about 4 times as much land, only produces 13% of the food we consume. And then the real hope is 71% of these lands still remain available to us for accessing and utilizing. So when we think about agriculture, we think about food systems, these are important areas to look into. And there's tremendous potential for us to solve for the linear economy and the problems that our islands face. And in solving these issues, they become solutions that are scalable to other parts of the world. We can learn and solve together, and that's why we have international partnerships and relationships to try to bring the best practices to Hawaii while being guided by our ancestral values and systems. So I want to tell you folks, I've been to the end of the road. And at the end of the road is Aina. And so some questions I want us to consider for today is what's at the end of your road? What do you want to see for Hawaii when you get there? What are the structures or bumps you must overcome to get there? And what are the collective overlaps that we can support each other through? So mahalo nui. Thank you.